Today is our second episode with a guest couple.
I'm excited for this one.
Jeff and Ed, man, they're just not our guests. There's so many things I appreciate about them. Over the years, they've shown up for us with joy and wisdom and support of our family.
And some laughter.
And lots of laughter. And more kindness than we could really ever put into words. So I can't wait for their story to be shared.
And they've lived a love story that's been shaped and sadly disrupted. Their marriage was recognized, annulled, and then they had to go to another state to get married. And we just want to sit down and talk with them about what it really means to choose each other again and again when so much was working against them legally.
Yeah. And of course, there was also some cultural challenges and familial challenges. And I think we are looking forward to sharing this episode because I think this is just one of those stories that more people need to hear.
I agree. It just made me realize how much I take for granted. I'm so glad that I can hear their story, and I'm excited to share it with all of you.
All right. Here's Jeff and Ed. Life isn't a sprint. It's a marathon. And along the way, we all stumble, learn, and keep going.
Welcome to Running Errands, a podcast about navigating marriage, parenting, business, faith, and all the unexpected detours that come along with it.
We're Justin and Sarah Ahrens, partners in life, business, and raising 4 incredible kids.
For over 30 years, we've been figuring things out as we go, sometimes successfully, and sometimes, well, not so much.
But that's the beauty of hindsight. We're here to share the lessons we've learned, the wins, the failures, and the moments that have shaped us.
Through honest conversations, special guests, and maybe even a few stories from our kids, we'll explore what it really takes to grow, adapt, and move forward.
So whether you're running a business, a household, or just running late,
you're in the right place. Let's do this together.
We're glad you're here. Welcome to Running Errands. Jeff and Ed, thank you for being on our show. We're very excited.
We are very excited.
And this morning we were talking about how we met. So Jeff, I met you through the How conference as we were both creatives. And you said something interesting to me that I didn't realize about Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff, you were one of the first people because I started coming to How conferences, I don't remember when, occasionally. And I really had a lot of insecurities going to those conferences because I wasn't a creative. Like, that wasn't my role. And I felt like a fish out of water. I felt like I didn't belong. I had a lot of imposter syndrome. Plus, Justin's a big personality and he's known there. Plus, I would always get the badges that just said Sarah, and Justin's were like speaker, panel judge, everything. And I was just like, Sarah.
Well, for our listeners, really quick, so the How conference was back in its heyday when I first met Jeff, was one of the creative conferences in the country with a wonderful community. And sadly, it is now gone. But anyways.
But you always made me feel very welcome and very part of things. And you spoke to me like as a Sarah, not gift with purchase of Justin. And so I just thank you for that. I always knew that if I came there and I saw you, that I would have someone in my corner that I could sit with and talk to and laugh with. So that was you were a very comforting person for me in a very awkward and insecure place.
Well, there was kind of a joke about that because a couple of friends said, "Oh, do you have a crush on Justin?" I'm like, "Oh no, I have a crush on Sarah."
Wow, I love that.
I didn't know that. Sorry, Ed.
But Ed would come to the conferences and he felt very much like you. I mean, he was the one that was a little uncomfortable and it was difficult for him. And then I would go to his legal conferences. He's not a lawyer. He, runs a law firm. But same thing, I would just feel so awkward. And I would find those spouses and kind of just grab onto them usually. And so now I go to the conferences and those are the people I seek out, the ones that I've known for 20 years now.
And everybody asked, is Jeff coming?
Yes, yes, yeah.
They don't care about me. They care about Jeff.
Well, let's be fair. Jeff is the heart of most parties that we all partake
Right.
in.
Sure. But I was trying to remember when we first met, because the first conference I spoke at was in 2008, but I don't know when we first met.
It's somewhere around there. I think back in the day, Rule 29 had won an award, and it was in New Orleans. That was before 2008.
Okay, right. Yeah.
I was like, oh, this conference is pretty great. And then one of my goals was to get out of my comfort zone and speak there someday. And so I think
How funny that that's out of your comfort zone.
so
It was for me though too. It really was. The joke was that the person who went on stage was a totally different person than the person that just was going to the conferences. So the person that went on stage was Jeff Fisher, because in San Diego at one of the conferences, I was on a panel, and it was so strange that the panel was fantastic. And when it ended, everybody came rushing to the stage instead of leaving the room. They all wanted to talk to us, and they all wanted our autographs and everything. It was really weird. But then Ed and I were walking down one of the hallways in the conference center, and this young girl came running down the hallway yelling, Jeff Fisher, and she wanted my autograph. And I wrote my name on whatever it was she had, and I turned around and Ed was just gone. He just disappeared. Whenever anybody came up to talk to me like that, he just disappeared. He just was gone. But he just laughed. And so that person became Jeff Fisher, the stage person, because it was a different person. I could walk out on stage and talk for an hour and not remember anything I said.
Yep, I know that experience. Sarah was about to say something snarky. So go ahead and say we were going to say snarky and include Ed, because I know where this is going. Go ahead.
There's so
Say
many
your snark.
I could say here. I always would laugh at like Justin being a big deal, and which one are you going to say that? I don't want to say the wrong thing.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Well, there's two stories that come to mind. I remember telling him once, well, this is mean. I said, being a famous designer is like being a famous dentist. So mean. And that was probably a little my own insecurity coming out. But then
I actually think you heard that from Sean Adams. I think Sean said that first, and you're like, "Oh, I like that."
Very possible. I will give credit to Sean.
Yeah.
I don't want to steal his words. But then once, when he wrote his book, when he wrote Life Kerning, one night I came home and he was sitting in bed signing copies, and I was like, "Oh, big deal, author signing your books." And
See,
I was like, my job is to keep you humble. That is really
and see, that's Ed's job. He does a very good job at it. He's always done that, been able to just be really snarky and cut me when I need to be cut down. But I do remember Justin was always good at doing that to other designers as well. I remember being in his session one time, and there's like 500 or 600 people in this session, and I was in his session and had to go see someone else's session. And I get up, I'm in the back of the room, and I get up, and all of a sudden, Mr. Fisher, where do you think you're going? Why are you leaving my session? Am I boring you? I mean, it was relentless. And
It's because I loved you. That's why.
I just have to go see someone else's session. But it really, those conferences it was really an incredible opportunity to meet amazing people and just make lifelong friendships. And I just learned so much above and beyond design from those events.
Well, I think we've done a good job on our
the introductions.
Why don't you just give us an intro of you guys and what you do, and then we want to know how you met.
Well, the weirdest thing is, 3 weeks ago, we celebrated 35 years together. And that's just bizarre. It really is bizarre. And on the night of our 35th anniversary, we were sitting here on the couch, and you will be pleased about this. And we were both just exhausted. A lot going on, my medical stuff, stuff at work. And he looks at me and he goes, I don't know where your card is. I have a card for you. I've lost it. I have no idea where it is. And I had given him the card. And he goes, what do you want to do tonight? I said, I'm really too tired to do anything. He goes, I am too. Do you even want to have dinner? I'm like, no. And let's just go to bed. It was like 7:30. That is how we celebrate our 35th.
You guys are so
anniversary.
romantic.
Yes.
I
Yes,
love that so
so
much.
that is what any couple has to look forward to at 35 years.
Yeah.
But actually, we celebrated our 35th anniversary in Nashville a week ago, and it was fantastic. We had a really wonderful evening, and that's where 35 years was. I met Ed when he was 22 years old, and I was 32. And
Where'd
we
you
were
meet?
at a bar called The Brig.
The brig.
The Brig, a gay bar. We were introduced by someone we had both dated. And very nice guy, and just didn't click. I was in this bar with some friends, and he came walking over. And I thought, oh God, what does he want? And he said, I want to introduce you to someone. I think you guys might really enjoy meeting each other. And I'd have a little drink, and he drags me over, and here's this young guy who had a little drink and he was with a friend, and he introduced us, and we kind of did this. I thought we were doing this little goo eye thing. I was doing it, and I just was kind of mesmerized by him. And then his friend said, "Come on, we got to go. We're going to be late for the party." And off they went. And I walked back to my friends, and I just said, "I just met the guy I'm going to spend the rest of my life with." And they said,
Come on, you didn't say that.
I did. I said exactly that. And they said, "Great. What's his name?" I said, "I don't remember."
All right, so pause. Ed, what's your version of that story?
I met Jeff and I thought, he's really attractive. He's high maintenance. He would never be interested in me. And I was also dating someone else at the time. I felt normally I get really nervous around people who I'm interested in. And I felt totally at ease with him. And I think I patted you on the knee, or I forget what it was, right before we left, and didn't think much of it. So there were sparks, but it was tamped by the fact that I was dating someone else at the time.
Yeah. And then the guy that introduced us was leaving for Europe like the next day or a couple days later. And this was pre-cell phone. I mean, nobody had cell phones. I couldn't just call him up and say, "Hey, who was that guy?" Kept thinking about this guy, and my friends thought I was pretty pathetic. And so they would call me on a weekend, Friday or Saturday night. It's like, "Hey, you want to go look for the cute boy?" And I'm like, "Sure, let's go look. I'm the sad person who can't find anybody, and let's go." And we would never see him. We would never see him any place. We'd just go to all these bars, never see him. And little did we know that he would see me and like disappear because he thought I was trouble.
Oh.
Is that true, Ed?
Turns out he was. Yes, I was trouble. And this one night, I wanted to go to this play really badly, and I couldn't get anybody to go to a play. And I would never go anywhere by myself. I am a person who would always show up late to a bar or a party because I didn't want to be the first one there. I would never go anywhere by myself. And I went to this play by myself. And so for some reason, it was a benefit, and they owed me a nickel. I said, "Keep your nickel. It's a benefit. Keep your nickel." So I go in, the theater's almost completely full. I scoot in to the middle and sit down. The guy who sold me a ticket comes in and goes, "You, the one who came by yourself, could you move down to the seat in the front row so these women can sit together?" And I'm like, "Oh, great. Now everyone in the theater knows I'm a total loser and I can't get a date."
Oh
And
my
so
God.
I go do it. And during the play, there was one of those lights in the fireplace. It was one of those wheels that turns, makes it look like a fire.
Yeah.
That wheel came off. It rolled off the stage, and it came off, and it landed right between my legs. And it was like a hubcap thing going around making this noise. And I thought, "Oh my God, I could go to a bar by myself and drink tonight because I need it." So I got out to my car, went to this bar, and I walk in, and the first person I see is Ed, but I don't remember his name. So I'm standing there by the cigarette machine. I'm like, it's a simple name. It's a one-syllable name. I was like really trying to figure out his name. And I turn around, and he's like a foot from me. And I said, "Hi, I'm really sorry. I don't remember your name." He goes, "Oh, that's okay, Jeff."
Oh, he really pointed the fact out that he
Yeah.
did.
And he goes, "Would you like to come to my birthday party this weekend?" And he hands me an invitation to his birthday party. So when I got home that night at like 11:30, I woke up all my neighbors to tell them that I had found the cute boy. And I knew his name, I had his address, I had his phone number, and I was going to his birthday party.
No, that's
And
the
so that Saturday, and I changed my clothes like 3 or 4 times before I went to the party. And I get to the party, and there's a guy sitting on the front steps, and he goes, "Hi, who are you?" And I said, "Oh, Ed invited me." He goes, "Hi, I'm Ed's boyfriend, Jeff."
Oh,
Wait a second. So he was dating a Jeff?
Yes, well, he
That's
was dating a
awesome.
Geoff. It was a Geoff. It
oh,
wasn't a real
yeah.
Jeff.
Who spells their name that way?
Yeah, and so I said, "I'll stay. I'll have one beer. I'll have one beer, and then I'm out of here. This is just depressing. I've been looking for this guy for 2 months, and now he has a boyfriend." And so I walk in, and I say happy birthday to him, and I hug him, and I walk into the kitchen to get a beer, and the guy who sold me the ticket for the play is standing at the keg, and he goes, "I owe you a nickel." I'm like, oh my God, all worlds are colliding here. This is just totally bizarre. And so I had my one beer and I left. And
Hold on a second. Did you think at the time in the kitchen, were you totally deflated, or were you starting to think this feels meant
no,
to
I
be?
was totally deflated. I
Okay.
was totally deflated. But as I left, I said goodbye to Ed, and he said, "We should get together, do something sometime." So then I was really confused. But we did. We just started doing things as friends. And then his boyfriend moved out of the country.
Oh, that's
Well, how nice did that work out?
Yeah, and things weren't
And
things.
guess who swooped right in?
I swooped in, but it was still the weird thing that I never would have dated anyone 10 years younger than me, and he
Why?
would have. Never, I just didn't want to date anybody that young. It felt odd to me, and he didn't want to date anybody that 10 years older than him.
Now, Ed, did you like Jeff that way when you were dating Jeff, or what was your mindset at the time?
Well, I certainly avoided Jeff whenever I could
Because
because deep down inside, I knew it was dangerous for me to do much with Jeff. And so, yeah, I found him attractive. But remember, I still had that story in my mind that I was not the sort of guy that Jeff would have a lasting relationship with. So I'd written him off as potential relationship material.
so at this point he was in the friend column.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I was kind of in the trouble column. I would admit that. I was not in necessarily the relationship column. But I remember I had lived in Seattle for 3 years, and we went on a trip to Seattle to meet my friends, and all my friends were like, "Okay, if you screw this one up, there's just no hope for you in life." It was just incredible because everybody was like, "This is the one, and don't mess it up."
Europe, you swoop in. How long does it take for you guys to get serious?
It happened too fast.
Oh, too fast. Why too fast?
Well, because his birthday was in April, and he moved in with me on the 4th of July.
Maybe that was
I mean,
just
we're-
right. I mean,
I know it was.
How it worked
But
out.
it was just.
It was one of those situations where you start a relationship as friends and you quickly, well, for me, I quickly realized, uh-oh.
And same for me. And I remember staying at your house one night, and he had this woman roommate, and I'm having a cup of coffee in the morning before I leave, and she goes, "Sit down." She goes, "What are your intentions with my friend Ed?"
oh wow, with
And
a
she
mother
was-
figure.
And kind of interrogating me, and I'm like, I kind of hope this turns into something. And so May 5th is our anniversary. It was Cinco de Mayo. We went on this bike ride. We went to an art show. And then we went to the Cinco de Mayo celebration on the river down in Portland.
So one of the things that you've been very open with, which I've appreciated, is just the fact that you've had to navigate something that most couples just have never faced. Having your marriage legally recognized and then not, and then again,
Oh, yeah.
right? Yeah. So can you walk us through that journey?
It's very strange because I don't think most people understood at the time. This is going back to, so we met in 1990. So just how important the relationships were to gay and lesbian couples. I mean, it just, they devalued them.
Mhm.
And so marriage was not a consideration for those people, you know? And so, and Ed was, shortly after we were together, he started working in the legal field, and it became really important to us that we knew we had to protect ourselves legally. And so, how many domestic partnerships do we have? 3?
I think it's true.
I can't remember the order. I think it was Multnomah County had a domestic partnership, and then Portland, and eventually in
And, is that,
Oregon.
and to help us understand, for those who
Those-
aren't
Those
aren't
protect
familiar,
you legally as far as housing and things like that. I mean,
so if something happens
enable
to
your
one of you,
partner
you
to
have
get health
benefit.
right, health
Yes,
benefits,
okay.
and you have so. And if there's medical situations, the hospital has to recognize you as the spouse and all those things. So it protects you in those situations. And then there was this weird announcement that they were going to legalize same-sex marriage in Multnomah County. And the county commissioners did it. Like, I remember getting phone calls. I got a phone call from the editor of the gay and lesbian newspaper for the state of Oregon. And she said, I think this is going to happen. I'm like, what? And she said, no, I think it's going to happen, you know, today. And it did. And I called Ed and I said, you know, what do you think? And he goes, what was it? How do you say it?
Do you want to do it?
Yeah. Do you want to do it? And so that was the proposal. That was
That was a very romantic
the
proposal.
official proposal was, do you want to do it?
We'd been together long enough by that point.
Yeah, we were 14 years into our relationship or something. And so the next morning we were standing in line in the rain with all these other couples because you didn't know how long it was going to last. You didn't know how long it was going to be before the courts might make the change.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was just all these couples were down downtown at the county clerk's office. And you know, just it was a scary moment and a magical moment.
What was the conversation like with all the people that you were there with?
It was just like people were just kind of freaked out and just like, we got to do this. We got to do this fast. And some people were getting married on the spot. There were people performing marriages there as soon as they got their license. And with us, we ran into the I owe you a nickel guy who became a really good friend, and he had a theater in town. So he had a theater space, and we said, can we get married in a theater? And he goes, it's available Sunday afternoon. So that was 4 days later. And in the meantime, I was leaving that afternoon to go to a speaking gig in Waterloo, Iowa. And so I had to go to a creative conference sponsored by John Deere Tractor in Waterloo, Iowa. And so I had to go to the speaking gig and then get back by Sunday for the wedding. So we got the license and I left, and Ed had to plan a wedding and have everything happen in 4 days. And so then I'm in Iowa at this conference in a rather conservative state, and I have to let the people who are running the conference know that the minute I'm done speaking, I have to get out of here. And so they said, okay, have your bags and everything ready. We will have a limo parked outside the door of the auditorium where you're speaking. And when you're done, go out the side door and get in the car, and we'll get you to the airport in Cedar Rapids and, get you home in time to get married. And I got to the Cedar Rapids airport and it said, all flights canceled.
You can't make this stuff up. Come on.
I know. And so I walk up to the American Eagle counter and I said, seriously? And she goes, there is one plane sitting on the tarmac that has not left. And she goes, start running for that gate. And so I do, and I hear this, Jeff Fisher, stop wherever you are. And I look and I see this woman running down towards me, and she has all these pieces of paper in her hands. And she said, "You're on this flight, and I have you booked on every flight out of Chicago to Portland so you can get home in time." And so I get on this flight, I sit down, and I'm like finally kind of breathing. And I look at my boarding pass. It's not even my name. It's some woman's name on my boarding pass.
That's amazing. That wouldn't
It's
happen
like,
today.
No, I was like,
Yeah. So I get to Chicago, and she said, just go to the first flight. And it was a United flight. And there's this guy standing there, and he said, what are you doing in Portland? And I said, "Well, I'm going home to get married." And he's like, "You're not the only one." And there's all these people on this, because all these people are flying from all over the country to get married in Portland in this short period of time.
oh, because it
And,
was only in that county in
Yes,
Portland?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he sends me down the jetway, and the jetway starts pulling away from the plane. And so the flight attendant's like, run back. And he says he's going to get me on the next flight. So he gets me on the next flight. And I am literally on a gay shuttle flight to Portland. All these gay and lesbian couples on this plane getting to Portland to get married. And they are just giving me free drinks the whole time because I had such a hassle trying to get home. And so I get home, and Ed has everything planned for a wedding.
That's incredible. Ed, I'll take back my romantic statement, although you lost the anniversary card. That's pretty great.
So is
Well,
that representative of how things kind of play out for you guys? Is Ed kind of the taker care of things?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm the organizer.
But yeah,
It's my role.
talk about planning the wedding and how that turned out.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, so I had been the wedding coordinator.
Father
Father of the Bride reference.
Yeah, Father
Yeah,
Bride.
Father of the Bride.
So I had been Frank for my good friend Kristen.
He made the rain stop at her wedding. It was fantastic.
So Kristen helped me put together the wedding, and she and her husband Tim were our officiants. So between Kristen and I and some of our other friends, we put together the ceremony and all of the pieces, including a little reception afterwards at
the theater.
Yeah.
There was probably 70 people. So 2 friends' daughters were our ring princesses. They had tiaras and everything. They were very thrilled about it. It was a very weird, defining moment as far as family and friends
And our relationship.
and relationship.
What does that mean?
Unexpected.
Share more about that.
It was just bizarre. I mean, first of all, it was happening in 4 days, so you don't know who's going to be able to make it. My sister was living down in the Bay Area, and she said that she wasn't going to be able to make it. And I was really disappointed about that. But at one point, I looked down the lobby of the theater, and the sun was shining through the door. And I thought, God, that looks like my sister. And it was.
Oh,
and she showed up. Neither of my brothers showed up. And we have no relationship with one of them to this day. I called my mom to say, "Hey, when are you showing up?" And she said, "We're not coming." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "Your father won't let me come." And I said, "Well, go get in the car with your friend Carol and get over here." And she said, "Well, I didn't know Carol was invited." I said, "That's not the point. If you want to be here, be here." And she said, "I don't think that's going to happen." And so that was odd. And all of Ed's family was there, which was wonderful. And one of the weirdest moments for me is I look across, after the ceremony, I look across the lobby where the reception is, and there is Ed's mother sitting next to our friend Chuck Palahniuk, who wrote Fight Club. And Chuck is writing an article for one of the British newspapers about same-sex marriages. And he's basically interviewing Ed's mother. I'm like, oh my God. And so I'm making my way I'm making my way over to them, just as I hear Ed's mother say, well, we kind of always thought Ed was that way. And so that was weird. And but there was just wonderful moments like our friend Pat, who had a wonderful Italian bakery. She made our wedding cake, and it was the first wedding cake she'd made.
Oh,
There's her bakery. I mean, there's just a lot of things like that. And just friends that were just there they would have done anything to be there. One woman had to ask, she was a deacon in her church, and she had to ask her church's permission to be at our wedding.
she felt that she had to
Yes,
ask permission.
Yeah.
Because her church is very,
very, very conservative church. But they were there, and just, it was just such a special moment. It really was. And we knew that there was a possibility that the courts could, just annul them completely. We didn't think they would, because in California, when Gavin Newsom had done them on Valentine's Day, the courts stopped them, but they said that all the marriages that had happened were legal. So they kind of grandfathered them in. And so that's what we thought. And it wasn't until January. So we got married in March. And in January, the Supreme Court annulled our marriages. And that was devastating. It really was. Yeah, it was just a sad day.
Yeah.
Because what they're saying is you're not worthy.
Right.
And it's just as hetero couples, we don't ever think of or worry about that. Like we
Right.
don't, like
Right.
it's nothing that even enters our frame of mind. We don't think, of course, there's still like the drama of your wedding of who's going to show up, but not for the reasons that you had to think about why they would or would not show up.
Right.
Oh, but as my partner, if I die, my stuff goes to you.
Exactly.
Right.
It's just,
So,
it's
yeah.
these taking
Yeah.
for granted these things that
Right.
are just day-to-day expectations for us that are not like, are they going to happen? It's like, this is what this is how it happens
Yeah.
for us. And then for both of you, you had all of these questions swirling around in your head. And I had to think some of it does it steal some of the joy because there's a little fear and trepidation?
Oh, it does.
Or are you
It
able
does.
how are you able to deal with like both sides of that coin?
Well, for me, the joy was the people, just having the people there. And that what we had done too is we had told everyone that could not make it that we would have a big party in the summer that they could then make it to. And that was a wonderful party. Gosh, what, 200 people?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, it was about 200 people. And it was at our Joy Creek Nursery, which is about half hour out of town. It's owned by a friend of ours. They have 4 acres of gardens. It's absolutely beautiful. And people came from everywhere. And even some imaginary friends, people I had never met that I just knew from online, designers that I just knew from online came to the reception. And that was the first time I met them.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was very, very cool. And so that was really neat. But then in January to just have it okay, you're not married.
How do you deal with that? Like what?
So I was very angry.
He was angry and I was sad.
Well, if I could, let me pop back to the family. So Jeff, it sounds like there's parts of your family that didn't accept or align with your decisions.
Oh yeah, I mean it's funny because it's hot and cold. It's hot and cold because before we got married, I loved my parents had always there'd never been a problem with Ed and I as a
So we
couple.
thought.
We thought there never was a problem. My mother had made a declaration one time at a party with both of my brother's wives in the room that Ed was her favorite daughter-in-law. And so my brother's wives were like, great. We don't have to do anything. We're done. No more trying to have to impress the mother-in-law because Ed's done it. And so we thought things were great. And it was just, for my dad, it was just the marriage thing. It was just, he could not get over that. But it made me mad that my mom wouldn't do what she wanted to do in that situation. My one brother, we never talked about it at all. So I don't know what the story is there. But my other brother's wife, didn't she call you? Yeah. And said that she was sorry that they missed the wedding, but he wouldn't let her come to the wedding. It's just weird.
I had some similar experiences in the office. They had they hosted a party for us.
Oh, they did. Yeah, they had a reception for us.
There were a few people who did not come to the party who were in the office because it was celebrating a gay marriage, and the gay marriage for many years was very polarizing, and it took quite some time for some people to come around. And this one person in particular, who I absolutely adore, I also know her children somewhat, and I think it was one of her kids who shared chastising her for being so opposed to gay marriage because it's so unlike the rest of how she lives her life. But it was difficult for her to come around to that, as it was difficult for my grandmother to accept gay marriage.
But she talked to you about it.
Yes.
That was the difference. His grandmother talked to him about it and said that she loved us both, but she just couldn't do it. She just couldn't be there. At least she spoke to him about it. Where
And
other
the
family
majority-
members,
And did the majority of people who didn't come to the gay marriage conversation or ceremony, they were generally good with you guys dating? They just couldn't get over the marriage part.
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
That was just the polarizing. But see, I mean, gay rights in Oregon had been a huge battle for years. I mean, early in the 90s, it was a really nasty, nasty political situation here. So it had been real polarizing early, but 92, 93 or whatever. And that was the point where, and I got death threats. We got telephone death threats.
Oh my goodness.
And the police came to the building that we were living in and had a conversation with all the residents about do not let strangers in the building and kind of watch out for Jeff and Ed. And this police officer told me, it's like, and Jeff, you shouldn't walk around in Portland by yourself.
Now, why were you two as a couple targeted?
Because,
Somebody has a big mouth.
well,
Oh, the troublemaker came out again?
the troublemaker, I had been, in that time, a gay and lesbian business association had been formed. As kind of a way to deal with what was going on. And I was on the founding board of directors. And of the people on the founding board of directors, I was the only person willing to go on television and talk about it.
So you became a face of things.
And so I was someone that was recognized and a target, and literally a target. And Ed was part of helping with the organization too. So, but yeah, it was a very strange time. So then to go from that to all the gay marriage stuff, and it was just like, we just wanted to have a happy life. With the politics in Oregon, they got same-sex marriage recognized in Oregon in a very clever way, in that they started recognizing same-sex marriages from other countries and other states. So if you were married in Europe, or if you were married in California or whatever, and came to Oregon, your marriage was then recognized. So that was a way of getting it, starting it to turn around. So actually, the people in Ed's office kept encouraging us, go get married somewhere. Just go do it someplace else. And so we were talking with my sister who was living down in the Bay Area, and there was a winery that we absolutely loved. And they always had said that they didn't do weddings at this winery. And my sister said, let me go talk to them. And so she called us one day and she goes, this is the date they can do it. And they're going to close the winery at 5:00. And we have the entire place to ourselves. And we can do, do it the way we wanted to do it. And so it was Ed and I and my sister and her husband and one of my sister's best friends, Sue, and her husband, Harley. And Harley was our officiant. And he didn't want to do the online thing. So he actually went through the things with the city and county of Napa to become a official officiant, to marry us in the tower of this winery at sunset this one day. So then, because we were married in California and Oregon was recognizing other states, the state of Oregon recognized our marriage.
That's well, first of all, what a beautiful opportunity to have it at that winery. And since that point to here, has it continued to be, I know it is nationally now, but has it been continued to be recognized, or did you have other bumps in the road?
Once Oregon actually started recognizing Oregon gay marriage, like within a year of us getting married in California, we didn't want to wait, and we weren't sure if there were going to be further speed bumps. So we opted to get married in California.
Well, what do you do now that keeps your relationship strong? And what has been surprising about building your life together?
Well, the biggest thing is, I know I'm right, and he knows he's right, and we don't argue about it.
Now, what does that look like?
Arguing is just a waste of energy and a waste of time. And I don't know, we haven't had an argument in years.
And usually the argument's over something tiny and inconsequential. It's really that one or both of us needed to let off some steam. And so it ends up being an argument about nothing, really. And the arguments often end in laughter.
Well, yeah, that's it. We end up laughing because it's so stupid. And we had one, it was already 15 years ago. And I still don't know what it was about. And I threw an empty beer bottle at him.
Troublemaker again.
Troublemaker.
But it didn't hit him and it didn't break. And he picked it and threw it at me. And we both just started laughing. And we don't even remember what the argument was about. But it's just, we don't argue. We really sit down and discuss things. Yeah, we just don't argue. We just have a really good time. We have a good time even through really bad times.
As relationships go, there are different sorts of relationships. There are people who argue all the time, who like their relationship is fed by big fights and the makeup afterwards. Our relationship is definitely not a volatile relationship. It's easy, and it's always been that way. Like from day one, it has just felt right. And we had our 7-year speed bump where we both were evaluating whether this was going to be a long-term relationship. But that was it was a small speed bump, and it was a short period of time
and there was other stuff going on at that time. It was job stuff for you and stuff for me too. And
right.
And I think you were changing jobs or something at that time. Something was going on with your job and
changing positions.
Yeah. So, because Ed, he went to school and got a computer science degree. And
I thought my career path would be as a programmer.
Yeah.
Instead, I, on a whim, interviewed for an IT position that one of my friends at the university was leaving. And I thought that I was just going to do a practice interview, and 2 hours later, I had the job. So my career path changed.
Yeah, you didn't even have a resume. We did your resume the night before.
Right. Yeah.
In fact, on his resume, under his name, we put computer geek with social skills. But yeah, and I kept waiting to hear from him after this interview. And like, it was over 2 hours later, he called me. He's like, I have a job as the IT person for a law firm. And he was still going to school. And yeah, that was very strange. And then the CEO of this firm, a few years later, says,
More than a few, but yeah.
he says, I want to groom you to become the CEO of the firm. And so totally different path. So yeah, so since then, basically Ed babysits lawyers. And that's what I always tell people. He runs a law firm.
Well, I don't think we've shared this with the both of you, but your relationship has always been a huge inspiration to us. And
So,
even though we don't get to see each other very often, in fact, it's been way too long,
I know.
I wanted to ask, what does chosen family mean to you?
Oh, everything.
So I think chosen family for gays and lesbians, probably less so now, more so in the past, because of the difficulty for some people with their families accepting a sexual preference that is different from what some would say the norm. Many gays and lesbians have been forced or sometimes choose to have their chosen family and invest more energy in their chosen family than their blood family.
We're lucky to have a really good balance of both.
Yeah, we're lucky to have families who accept us, accept our relationship, are supportive of our relationship. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not as you expect it will be. Sort of like the first time that we had our marriage ceremony, and a number of Just family members didn't show up. And family members from my family showed up that I wasn't sure they would show up. So it's always a surprise. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I would consider you two as members of our chosen family. I mean, it's the people that the people that you want to have around you that love you and you enjoy being around, but are also people you know that would protect you in any situation. I mean, we've got a lot of those people. I mean, it's really tremendous. We've had people just protect us and just be around us for years, and that's really been a lifesaver. And then with my health issues, that family has really come in and helped. It's just so funny. One day I was having one of my infusion treatments, and Ed just wasn't going to be able to do anything that day. And so, you know, one friend took me to the clinic. Another friend picked me up and brought me home, and then sat here for a couple hours reading. And then my next door neighbor, he came home from work early and worked from home so he could be the responsible adult, because the clinic wants you to have a responsible adult. His kids didn't believe he was a responsible adult, so I made a certificate that says that he is officially a responsible adult.
Ever
Which
the
he-
designer.
Which he enjoyed sharing with his kids. And his 10-year-old daughter says, I don't know. I still don't know. And it takes a village. Even at this point, it takes a village to take care of me. But
Did you say it
one of
takes a village to take care of a Jeff?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it does. But we had a fun one day. It picks me up after my treatment, and I am still high as a kite from my treatment. And the only thing he could do was take me to his office. And so He takes me to his office in the middle of this luncheon that they're having. And he finally tells one of his staff people, you just get Jeff a plate and take him back to one of the offices and hide him.
Well, for someone listening today who feels unseen or unheard in their community because of their relationship, what would you say?
I would say just live your life as you want to live your life. And I mean, that's the best way to be seen. If people see you just living your best life. I mean, that is so much of it. I mean,
Some of it is being okay in your own skin.
yeah.
Once you accept yourself and who you are, the being seen and being heard comes around fairly quickly. And I think that goes for most everyone, regardless of your identity. Is there's something about being okay in your own skin that causes people to gravitate towards you,
Yeah.
and accept who you are, regardless of what the situation is.
Being able to joke about it helps too. It really does. I mean, laughter, one of the things with Ed's office, people say that I'm a very good corporate wife. And so they do laugh about that a lot. And I think that makes people be at ease.
Yeah.
And, I remember it was your first firm that you worked at. There was an attorney she was a partner in the firm, and she had never brought her spouse, another woman, to any event at the firm. And Ed you were just starting there. I knew both she and her partner through political things that I'd been involved with. And she showed up at Ed's office one day and, are you going to bring Jeff to this company party? And he just looked at her and said, well, why wouldn't I? And so she ended up bringing her partner to this event, and they were the last ones to leave.
Some of it is generational. The younger generation did not experience the same amount of negativity towards gays and lesbians as the older generations did. And so I think that has changed dramatically over time. But there was even though everyone in the firm knew of this couple, and I don't think anything negative was ever said to them or about them. You come with some level of baggage. Everybody comes with baggage. And it's a matter of figuring out how to deal with your baggage and be okay with things changing and hopefully changing for the better.
Yeah. I mean, even the 10-year difference between us, there's a whole level of different experiences because I went through the AIDS crisis so much more than Ed did.
Very much so. Yeah.
I mean, I lost over 100 friends. I mean, it just,
wow.
when I was living in Seattle, it was kind of sad. You left Saturdays open to go to funerals. That's just what you did. And I lost roommates and boyfriends and clients and cousins, and it was just devastating. I mean, and I think you come out of that as a very strong person, but you also come out of it with some level of PTSD just about life.
How could you not? Exactly.
Yeah, I think that changes the way you go into relationships too. You want the relationship and you want it to be forever and you want it to be the best relationship it can possibly be. And to have seen some of the worst of people during the AIDS crisis where relationships were not protected and families came in and just took everything and people lost houses because they weren't on the legal papers for the house. I mean, it was horrible to see how mean and nasty families could be.
Well, we are incredibly grateful for your time, and we have a little part of our interviews with couples that we call rapid fire questions. I'm going to start with you, Ed. What is one thing about your partner that still surprises you? Or what's one consistent thing about Jeff that you really appreciate about him?
That's easier. One consistent thing about Jeff is he is always affectionate. Always.
Thank you.
And Jeff, what's one consistent thing about Ed that you love?
His consistency. No, I mean, my health issues started 13 years ago, and he has been so consistent in being there for everything. He has been, I think he has missed 7 or 8 doctor's appointments in 13 years. He has been at he is there. He is the one the doctors are afraid of. He comes in with a list. He just torments these doctors. One time this doctor came in, he took my hands, he goes, Jeff, it's very nice to meet you. I've read all of your case history and everything. And he looks at Ed and he goes, I've been warned about you. And Ed he schedules every appointment. I don't.
I'm the doer.
He is the doer.
Organizer. I'm the pusher.
Yeah, they are scared of him. When this chronic pain thing started, we told the doctors we were not going to stop traveling, that we were going to travel no matter what. And that was the one thing they needed to make sure we were able to do. Well, a big part of that is Ed making sure that happens. And it happens. God, we've traveled all over the world, even with my issues. And then we just make sure that we travel with our friends, Lisa and Bev, the wives, and they have been together 25 years. And what they've always said is when we travel, I have one day that I do activities, and the next day I have the day off, and I will be always staying in a very nice place.
Well, this is a perfect segue into the last rapid fire question.
Okay.
What's the best adventure you've had together lately, big or small?
Lately.
Paris in the south of France.
Paris in the south of France. Last October. Oh my God. What a great trip. What an amazing trip. Just lots of unexpected things. Rent this house in the south of France, and instead the owners of the house invited us to stay as their guests for a week. And we met the most amazing people, the artists, and oh my God, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah, it was not the vacation we planned, and yet it was one of the most amazing experiences we ever had.
Yeah.
Well, Jen,
Well, I still really enjoy. I just enjoy the adventures of your family. So I really enjoy the podcast. I still explain to people that your family is the family in the picture when you buy the frame at any store. The perfect family.
Oh, I would not say the perfect. Maybe the most open.
From appearance's sake, it is just that family, and so it's great to hear the stories of the family.
well, thank you. We have a lot of fun stuff planned, and I just want you guys to hear from us. We love you. We're grateful for you.
Very much so.
Yeah. Well, thanks. We appreciate you.
Very much.
Yes.
Very much so. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Running Errands. We truly love having these conversations and sharing them with all of you.
If something resonated with you today, we'd be so grateful if you'd rate and review the show. It helps more people find us.
And if you know someone who'd connect with this episode, send it their way. You never know who might just need to hear it.
We'd also love to hear from you, your feedback, your stories, or even topics you'd like us to tackle next.
You can connect with us on our personal socials, the show's Facebook page, or through the website, runningerrands.today. And links are always in the show notes.
Until next time, keep showing up, stay kind, and remember,
Life's the long run, and the best way forward is together.